When I think of 90s light gun games, I mainly think of Area 51, Time Crisis, House of the Dead, and Ocean Hunter. One series that I tend to forget about is Virtua Cop. Nothing against it, I just wasn't exposed to the game as much as those other ones. Which is weird because I don't think most of those games would be the way they are if it wasn't for the innovations that Virtua Cop brought to the table. Hell, the game's design even influenced Rare's GoldenEye 007. For starters, the game is a fully polygonal 3D shooter, which was huge for the time. Past light gun games had you shimmy to the left and right, like Lethal Enforcers, or they used a superscalar-like effect to create forward momentum and depth, like Steel Gunner. It's one of those things that you have to take a seat and look upon just how much Sega's innovations in 3D game design really helped push the industry forward, and then we entered how much they screw it up now. Anyways, the Saturn port of Virtua Cop was released in 1995, and has all the levels from the arcade version. You run around on rails, you shoot dudes, and... oh, that's really about it. Okay, let's examine what's here. The gameplay is as simple and straightforward as you would expect a light gun game to be, but in Virtua Cop, Sega used a crosshair system to focus on specific enemies. The camera will zoom in on a baddie with a reticle that shows you when the enemy will shoot. It's a neat little design quirk that doesn't overburden beginner players with too many things to focus on and shoot, until you get to the later levels, that is. Also, civilians are running around, so don't shoot them. You have 3 levels to choose from, each ranging in difficulty. You got your seaport, your gravel pit / construction site, and an office building. The Saturn port also offers a police training mode where you shoot multiple targets as fast as you can. I'd recommend you play this mode with the light gun. In fact, I'd say you want to play the whole game with a light gun, which brings me to my one main complaint. Playing the game with a controller isn't bad, but one thing that I can't wrap my head around is reloading. For whatever reason, to reload, you must double tap the reload button. This may not sound like a big deal, and I guess it really isn't, but it's a small thing that kinda annoys me. Why can't I just simply tap the reload button once? I can do that in Virtual Cop 2, but nope, not here. I don't really have any other complaints about the game, but I suppose I should mention its short length being a big downer. I can easily blast through the game in an afternoon, but that's just the nature of these kinds of games. The trading mode itself doesn't add much to the experience, but Virtual Cop is a game that was meant for you to just take up a light gun and start blasting stuff for a good half hour or so. In that case, it's a pretty fun half hour. But what about the light gun itself? With the Saturn port of Virtua Cop, Sega released the legendary Sega Stunner, their official Saturn light gun. It's incredibly responsive and has a nice click to the trigger. The gun itself is modeled after the in-game gun used by the characters, and for years has been Sega's official arcade light gun for most of its arcade shooters, like House of the Dead 2, Lost World Jurassic Park, and Confidential Mission, to name a few. In the end, Virtua Cop is a true classic of the light gun genre. While there isn't much reason to go back and play it nowadays, those who do are guaranteed to have a fun time. Copies can be found online for dirt cheap. It was a Saturn packing game at one point, so sleeve copies are abundant out in the wild. So go grab a Stunner and a CRT for Virtua Cop, because it certainly won't be the last time you'll need one of them.